All right. Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus live stream. My name is Avon and I run a company called Relevate. And basically, we do this live stream every Friday, just talking about digital transformation, sales, marketing, technology, tips and tricks for your business, and things like that. So, if you're watching this and you see my eyes dart left and right, I've got a phone over there on Instagram. And then I've got Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube through the main camera using an app called StreamYard. So if you're watching this on any of those channels, you can jump over to YouTube and jump into the comments and just leave me a post, an idea, a thought, a question, anything in the chat, in the comments, and I'll be able to see that coming up and respond to you. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, if indeed you are. And don't forget that this will also be available in the replay, so you can come back to it later. If you've seen this post in advance, you would know that the topic of today's conversation is doing stuff that scares you. So I wanted to I kind of covered this a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to revisit it because we've had some kind of big stuff happen, and I wanted to make sure that I kind of updated you guys on what was happening, but also give you an indication of the types of things that I'm talking about when I say do stuff that scares you. Because a lot of times people, maybe going outside and shaking someone's hand might scare you. But we're talking to business owners here, so you should ideally have a fair bit of motivation to go out and do things, to go and see people, because you need to grow your business. So getting in front of the right kind of person, sometimes you need to do stuff that scares you, make a TV ad, make a video, go out and speak in front of people, get on the radio, talk to people, get out there into the world and get in front of people that you would not otherwise have gotten in front of. So doing stuff that scares you. I want to share a couple of personal experiences where literally my hands were shaking. First of all, everyone's got to start somewhere. And I know that I started charging very, very little. I thought, who would ever work with me? And I, literally went door to door trying to find people who I could do business with. And the problem was that every time I would go door to door or find that next person, I'd kind of only incrementally kind of march it up each time and go, well, I might charge like $5 more, and hopefully this is off a really low base. So I might charge $5 more to hopefully get a little bit more from the next client, and then a little bit more from the next client, and then ultimately my hourly rate would go up to a decent amount. But I feel like I made those jumps way too small. Like I should have hang my hat on like double, triple. Because like I said, I was charging really, really low, like employee hours rate, which is not effective if you don't have consistent work. When you run a business, you've got in between time, you've got downtime, you've got marketing costs, you've got sales costs, you've got equipment and facilities costs. So you need to be charging a lot more. And if you're charging, $30 an hour, which is probably like a low Australian wage, or a low-ish Australian wage, then you've got a long way to go. And if you just went and like, well, I'll charge $31 or $32 the next client, it's going to take you years to get up to what you probably should be working towards. So, we're talking about charging dollars here, but it's not always about that. So doing stuff that scares you can be much more about the size of client that you're working with or the type of work that you're doing. One example was that early on, I'd gone and worked with, or I'd somehow gotten an introduction to a CEO of a YMCA. Now, YMCA is a pretty big brand, but it's a federated model. So if you go, you're not kind of dealing with the one major organization globally. There's lots of organizations that go under the same banner, but they are different organizations under a central rule or a central process, a way of doing things. Now, the issue with that is that all of them are independent businesses. Yes, they have a somewhat consistent way of doing things and an approach and a mission, but they've got very different rules for each little bucket. And they're all different sizes, and they've got all different decision-making models, and there's all this bureaucracy, layers, and politics between all of them. So, I thought I'd struck it big going to a big name like that. And I walked in the door, and I remember my hand shaking as I'm going to open the door handle to walk into the door, into the building. And it was the biggest client I'd ever gone to see. This is lowly little me, having just started my little consultancy, and walking into the building. I was like chattery teeth a little bit. I was trying to hide it, and then they're like, "Oh, would you like a coffee? Come sit at the boardroom." All very normal stuff. And then I get in there and I sit down, and the CEO walks in, and like I'm trying to impress, and I say this and that and all these ideas. Turns out the guy never really had the authority to do much, and ultimately ended up getting fired, and then having somebody else come in and manage it. But until that happened, it actually closed a big project, big enough for us, and we got started, and then it all went away. So that wasn't necessarily the best outcome, but the learning was that I needed to go bigger, and that going bigger doesn't always pan out, but it was a lot better than staying small. I still made money. I still didn't commit, like we didn't finish the project, but I charged for what I'd done. And I had done a fair amount to that point. So it wasn't as though, and even though I only did probably, 15 to 20% of the project, that was still bigger than the next biggest client that I'd had up to that date. So doing something big did scare me, but it also pushed me forward. And it pushed me forward so far and so fast that I was able to go to the next client that wasn't so big and scary next time. And maybe they weren't as big as, this YMCA. Maybe they were as big as, your local corner store or something like that. But they were still bigger than, trying to find this small startup that, it's like, please buy from me. And since then, like yesterday, I was chatting to a billionaire with a B. So from me being scared about walking in and charging $20,000 to do a project, now I'm going into a billionaire and asking for millions of dollars. And that is a huge step from where I was. And, throughout that, there's been some other, major kind of people that I've spoken to or dealt with. And one, like I'd always wanted to go more like enterprise sales. And I was a little bit worried about, are we big enough? Will they accept us? And there are some rules in there as well, like, getting ISO certifications. All that's very time consuming and expensive, and you need to have the right people and the right money. And then you've got to, keep resources around ready to go when you need to go and do bigger things. So it can make it a little bit difficult to go from being a small to being a big. But if you don't make these like scary leaps along the way, you're never going to go from here to the bigger one. You're going to have to go in bite-sized chunks, and that's going to be very slow. You almost need to bite off more than you can chew, and then chew like hell. So, we did a project a little while ago. It was kind of big-ish for us, but at the time, it was relationship building, because now we're talking to another person who's worth a lot of money. And they've sold out of a massive global company. But that's given me leverage point to talk to somebody else, who's given me leverage point to talk to somebody else. And, like sometimes you would know that if you work with a client, they're like, have you ever worked with a client like us before? And if you don't have the evidence, you can't say yes. But what you can do is, if you've got a bit of backing behind you and you've worked on several projects that don't necessarily cover the same type or same size, you can say, well, no, but this project was like that component of your situation. This project was worth that much of yours, and that project was worth, the rest. So by the sum of all of these parts, it's the same as your project. So yes, we have experience in doing it, not explicitly with an exact company, because all companies are different. And so that way you get to kind of explain yourself in a way that doesn't create that problem of when you're talking to a business and they're like, have you worked with a client our size before? And instead of that being an automatic qualifier of no, you can just say, well, look, tell me your real problem here. What's your fear? What are you worried about? Because every company is different. You're never going to find one exactly the same. So there are ways to justify it. And I think if the moment you stop, you don't shut down and go, no, we haven't. And then you go, I'm out of the running, and you walk away. That's a failing point on the way you think. It's not a failing point on the fact that you didn't actually work with a client like them before. So you need to try and bring together evidence in a way that you can present to say, we can do this job. Or maybe just ask the question differently. What problem do you really have here? What do you need to solve? Has anybody else been able to solve it? Is it going to come out of a box of cereal? Is it a magic bullet that you are looking for? Or is there something deeper here that maybe no one else has been able to solve? Maybe that they're not creative enough, or they're not breaking the rules enough to be able to solve this one particular issue that you've got. So you can stand out and you can be unique. Anyway, the next thing I was going to say is we've stepped out and done is we know that we've grown through networking, and networking is something I've always wanted to continue doing because I enjoy talking to people, and you get more value out of, or you can understand a lot of opportunities that you get, or you can find more opportunities the more you talk to people. So networking is really, really valuable, to the point where we've gone and grown our own. So doing something that scares you, we've created an online community with a couple hundred people in there. In fact, if you want to join it, here's the link. If you're in the if you're not on Instagram, you're on the PC, you can see the join.relevate.com.au. So that's our online community. And yeah, we've got a couple hundred members in there, and we've also now started face-to-face catch-ups. And we've got, we had our first one Wednesday, and we had 12 people turn up. Small to begin with, but we've got, regular online as well, and we've got lots of people in there. So to have a first face-to-face, you've got a lot of things you've got to check off, right? Somehow you've got to build a script. You've got to have, whatever kind of materials you're going to have on the day, like flyers, banners, that sort of stuff. You've got to have people that actually want to turn up somewhere. You've got to organize a venue. You've got to, follow up with people ad nauseum to get people to actually physically turn up, and then make sure that they can find the place and that it's easy to get to. So, I mean, it's all doable for sure. But, if you've never done that before, it's a huge step forward. So making the leap and doing something out of your comfort zone, actually, even if you stuff it up, actually makes you go so much faster. So I would definitely try to do more things that scare me sooner, given the choice. So, I have a concept of pull the pin and see what's next. Just make something happen, fail quickly, and do it again and again, or do the next thing, or learn from that and then do the next thing. The faster you can stuff up, then the faster you can be awesome. Most people have been successful because of a major mistake. So, I mean, don't go willingly in to try and make the mistake, but don't hold back thinking that something's going to go wrong. Just do whatever due diligence you can, get to a point and go, all right, we've assessed this, and this. It's never going to be perfect. Let's just go. Yeah, I mean, look at Richard Branson with screw it, do it anyway. That was his marketing, or his idea of when he went into the hot air balloon across the world, or parachuting out of planes and things like that. So it's an approach that will accelerate your ability to test the market, to learn. Yes, it costs money. Yes, you may stuff up. Yes, it might hurt, but you'll probably dust yourself off and be better for it anyway. All right. So we did these live streams every week, 8:30 every morning, and that's Brisbane time. So if you're watching, tune in, give us a like, a subscribe, let us know what you thought in the comments, and also join the Relevate community. It's pretty awesome. There's a whole bunch of cool people in there, and we talk about technology, systems, processes, and helping people to scale. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch up with you next time. Now you get to watch me